Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prema Meritaro Priyan Sakarupan Bhaktiganan Krishna Prema Pralad Pradhan Vajikapatruvischa Kripasandevya Vicha Petitanam Pavendavya Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Badaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimad Gour Govinda Swami Niti Namine. Dhanavats everyone, Vajikapatruvischa Kripasandevya Vicha Petitanam Pavendavya Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. So this time last year we had Vyasapuja in Bali, and then I had to speak after Jagadish Pandit, and this year I have to speak after him again. So it's very hard because he covers a fair bit of area. He doesn't leave much scope for anyone else. So 1 year ago we were in Bali, right?
That's right.
And we're at the, our godbrothers there have built a very large temple, but now they're building an even larger temple, and the deity room is bigger than this temple. The deity room goes from that wall, not this wall, the other wall, or maybe longer. And it's still a sort of a construction site, like a concrete shell, and that's where they have the festival, and it's enormous. Anyway, so I had to speak after him last year, and I have to speak after him this year, and it's as if he hasn't got an off button, it's only an on button, you know.
Where's that temple getting built?
He what?
Where's that temple getting built?
In Bali.
Where?
You know the Radharasheshwara temple? It's about 45 minutes outside of Bali, Denpasar, and they're built next to that. They're building this monstrous thing. Anyway, really big. Anyway, so
On the same land as the temple.
same land, yeah. And there's also 1 year ago we were in Bali, and the festival there is very nice actually. First we went beginning of last year, 2019, for disappearance of good. I was with my wife, and we were very shocked at how wonderful it was. I hadn't seen such a festival for Gurudev outside of Orissa, because not many ISKCON temples celebrate Gurudev's disappearance or Vyasapuja. They don't do it. They consider it unnecessary. Right. They do it in Vrindavan, and of course all the temples in Orissa. Mayapur's not in the temple, it's done separately in a hall. And of course they do it in Bali in the main centre, and it's massive. So, and a lot of the festivals this year all over the world are all done live stream, and even people are sending in video offerings because they can't actually get to the places. So we've most probably got a big crowd here today, considering the lockdown tattva. Anyway, so I must say that if anyone was misunderstood in this world as a real Vaishnava sadhu, it's His Divine Grace Gour Govinda Swami, especially by his godbrothers, especially.
Not in Gaudiya Math, they accepted all the Gaudiya Maths.
In many Gaudiya Math temples today, and earlier this year for the disappearance, they celebrate disappearance and appearance of Srila Gour Govinda Swami as an acharya, not as a tree in the forest. You know what I mean? There's many trees in the forest, and it's just another tree, and there's another tree. No, they single him out. They've understood. But so what we're doing today here is quite unique. So as I said, if someone was misunderstood as a personality in this world, it would be Srila Gour Govinda Swami. And I'll give the reasons why. For instance, Gour Guru Maharaj used to say, after the disappearance of an acharya, a dark period comes. Right? And the example he gave was the dark clouds cover the sun. But it's only temporary. Then those clouds dissipate and the full effulgence of the sun comes through, which means the full effulgence of that Sadhu Vaishnava Mahajan appears again, but not in the same body, not the same form. Form is different, message is the same. Right. Therefore it is said, Guru is one, is not two. The oneness of Guru is not the body. In the words of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said, Guru is not the body, he's the message. Sorry, Guru is not the body, he's the principle. And in the Science of Self-Realization, chapter 2, in the section Searching for Guru, right, he makes the point, hundreds of thousands of acharyas have come and gone, but they're all one with the same message. That is the oneness, not the oneness of the body. We only have the oneness of the body, we may become sectarianists or worse, because we only have the oneness of that body. Isn't it? Just like when Srila Jiva Goswami left this world, he was pure genius, right? He wrote the Satsandarbhas, right? And they are the most lucid, pragmatic, effulgent understanding of the Gaudiya Siddhanta there is. And they lay the groundwork for everything we know and do. Right? The Tattva Sandarbha, the Bhagavat Sandarbha, the Paramatma Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, Priti Sandarbha. Right? When he left, his disciples said, no one will ever come. No one will ever come again. And it's okay for them to say that. It's fair enough, because the disciple has a special relationship with the sadhu. If you have met a Paramahamsa in this life, Uttama Adhikari Vaishnavacharya in this life, Paramahamsa, it is totally different to meeting, as Jagadish Pandit Prabhu said, a Kanishta or Madhyam Guru. No offence. It is totally different. Because the Kanishta and Madhyam Guru, in the words of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary in the third count of the Bhagavatam, can only take you to Bhajana Kriya, third stage Kanishta. But that Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava Mahabhagavat can take you all the way to Prema. So it's okay, you've met such a sadhu and you're attached, and he enters the heart. It's not he enters the ears, or who quoted that verse, Satam Prasangam Mamavir Sambido Bhavanti Vidkana Rasayana Katha. He doesn't just enter the ears and the brain, he enters the ears and he enters the heart. That is real sadhu. Right? Because real bhakti is not the size of the buildings, or not the size of the bank balance, or not the number of followers. It is the condition of the heart. Premanjana Charita Bhakti. And how does that manifest? By being in front of that sadhu and hear him speak. And that's by that first inkling, that first sight of the sadhu speaking, the anointment, the eyes become anointed with that prema. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said. Otherwise not. So it's okay, they may say that. Okay, no one will ever come. But then Bhaktivinoda Thakur came. I mean, after Jiva Goswami, many acharyas came, but when Bhaktivinoda Thakur left, they said the same thing, no one will ever come. I mean, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the pure genius. He wrote over 100 books. If you read his books, you'll be shocked. He wrote just Jaiva Dharma. If you just read Jaiva Dharma, you'll be shocked. And if you can comprehend it and understand it, you'll be shocked. What to speak of the other 100 books he wrote. And then he left, then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came, and he left, and then it was said, oh, no one will ever come, no one will ever come, no one will ever come. No one will ever come. But that philosophy, that is the philosophy, that is the philosophy of the uninformed, no offence. No one will ever come. Because someone always does come. Right? In the words of my Guru Maharaj, the Acharya, Sadhu is always there, personally to associate with. But we don't believe that because We believe something that is totally opposite to the Siddhanta. That's why we don't believe that. So this is defeated by Srila Narahari Thakur in his book, Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita. He says, 3 main points. Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita, you got it, right? Yep. You read it yet? Pages 42 to 47, chapter 4, 3 points. Number 1 point, the lesser gurus, right? They devise a philosophy whereby which you will never meet a Mahabhagavat in this life. That's their prime duty in life. That is their prime occupation. You will never meet a Mahabhagavat. Number 2, they devise a philosophy so you come to them, but you don't go to a Mahabhagavat. Very dangerous. So you've immediately committed Maha Aparad, and you and your followers are not going up, going down. Finished. Or everything finished. Nindam Kuvanti Yemuda, Vaishnavanas Mahatmanam. Skanda Purana, right? Offences to a sadhu. And the third point he makes is the Uttama Adhikari Vaishnavacharya is always there in Kali Yuga, but he's hidden, so he needs some seeking out, some searching out, some approaching. So this philosophy, no one will ever come again, we do not accept. It's okay for the disciple to say that. It's okay, the disciple is attached to his guru, and how will anyone come like my Guru Maharaj? I mean, I've never heard anyone speak like my Guru Maharaj. There's no one that can speak like that. No one. Ever. I remember Burijan came to Bhubaneswar once in 1991, and Guru Maharaj let him give class. So we sat there, and after it, Burijan got up and said, I've never spoken like that in my life. And Guru Maharaj was sitting next to him. And Guru Maharaj started laughing. And we all understood Guru Maharaj had empowered him a little to speak like that. He said, I've never spoken like that in my whole life, he said, ever. I've never spoken like that. But it was a good class. Right. So when one associates with real sadhus, real Vaishnavas, real Mahajans, even like it's considered birth in a Greek family is very low. I'm from a Greek family. Paulindas, they're very low, right? But I got to associate with such a personality. And I've done 31 years research into his life on and off. So when I read on Facebook, no Acharya will ever come, there's no purity, I understand this person doesn't know the first thing about our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. And when we start sprouting this philosophy, right, and we start indoctrinating people with it, means we're speaking against real sadhus, which means we're presenting, we're committing aparad. And aparad means apa means against, and rada means radharani. Because in the general terminology of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and my Guru Maharaj, the Acharya is Manjari. She comes from that world to this world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes it in the Jivadharma. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has written it. So Radharani's intimate servant comes here and we criticise them. So you commit a great aparad and think, I will laugh and I'll joke and I'll criticise this person. I don't have to listen to this. And yeah, your spiritual life will be finished. So, in the research that I've done, I came across persons that weren't in our sampradaya, that knew many Vedic sciences. For instance, in 1980, one South Indian Brahmin walked onto the Bhubaneswar land. Right? His name was Badrinarayan Ramanuja Das. Born in a Brahmin family, he'd studied the 4 Vedas, all Upanishads, Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Sanskrit scholar, knew Samudrika and was an astrologer. Samudrika means auras, can read the palm and can see, it's an ancient science where you can see the 32 symptoms Panchadurga, Panchasuksma, Sapta Rakta Sarunataha, 32 symptoms on the body of a Ma Bhagawan. And he walked onto the Bhubaneswar land. He said to me, when I walked onto the land, I saw this sadhu, but before I saw him, I saw this giant effulgence, and then I saw this sadhu chanting on beads. He said, that was Gour Govinda Swami. He said, I went and introduced myself. And he said, I paid my obeisances and introduced myself, and Guru got up and said, I'm the lowly disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I'm Gour Govinda Swami. And he said, I could see the effulgence, and then I could see the symptoms of a Ma Bhagavat, according to what I understood. When he went down to South India, he saw his guru, Sri Lakshman Ramanuj Jia, Srila Acharya Dev, who is the Acharya of the Sri Sampradaya, is tens of thousands of disciples, some say hundreds of thousands. He's a mystic, he's a psychic, also an astrologer, knows Samudrika, Sanskrit scholar, nice stick of brahmachari. He said to his guru, I think there's a Ma Bhagavat preaching in ISKCON Bhubaneswar. Will you go and have a look? So on the request of his disciple, he got the train from Sri Rangam all the way to Bhubaneswar. Is a long way. The hellish train ride. Train rides in India are pretty hellish, but not particularly hellish. It's a long way. So he got off the train. He came to the temple. Jagadish was there. Gokul Das Das was there. Parabrahma was there. Dina Bandhu was there. There's so many there. And he just looked through the flywire door and he saw Gurudev, paid full dandavats, then knocked, went in, spoke to Gurudev for 15 minutes, then came out. And what did he say? Your Gurudev is definitely Siddha Purush Ma Bhagavat. He's a self-effulgent personality. Such a personality is rarely seen on planet Earth. 1 in a billion, 1 in 2 billion, max. And he said all the birthmarks on his body represent the different avatars of the Supreme Lord. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, etc. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? It's like when someone does it, Hare Krishna. So we thought, yeah, well, that's... And he's... if you go to Sri Rangam with him and he walks in the door, whole of Sri Rangam pays dandavats. Right? He's the Acharya there. And he's a real psychic. I went with my wife, my daughter, and he was telling us stuff about us that only we three knew. No one else knew. And he was telling us, you've done this, you've done that, this, that, etc., etc. He's a mystic, he's a psychic. So that's, and this Badrinaran Ramanuja Das, he's the disciple and secretary of the Acharya from Sri Rangam, who's now left, 2012. In 2012, just prior to the Acharya from Sri Rangam leaving his body, was in his last days, I rang Badrinarayan and we discussed some points about Guru Maharaj and what his guru had said. And from his last days, lying in bed, the Acharya said to Badri, who then translated it to me on the phone, he said, Gour Govinda Swami is Shakti Vaisavatar. Said it 3 times. Come with a mission. So what was that mission? What was the mission of Gour Govinda Swami? The mission of Gour Govinda Swami was to make the mission of his Gurudev strong. And he was the only one that could do it because he was the only one that knew the Siddhanta like that. If you take the time to listen to his lectures, to analyse what he's saying, try and comprehend it, there's no one in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness that can speak like that. They may be able to remember some of it and say it, which we all do, right? We all do. But that's neither here nor there. Right? So then there's the case of B.C. Mahanti. B.C. Mahanti was one of the prominent deity makers in India. Shilpi. He knew the Shilpi Shastra. He knew how to make deities and statues and all sorts of things. Anyway, he was requested by our godbrothers to make deities of Guru Maharaj. And he understood just from what he'd done. He said, the Gour Govinda Swami doesn't fit into the category or the geography of a conditioned soul. 12 categories, yep. of conditioned souls. You know, everyone has a certain head shape, hands, whatever. Geometry, 12 categories of conditioned souls. He said Gour Govinda Swami only fits into the category of Ma Bhagavat. Then he could make the deity. So there's 3 people that are not in our Gaudiya, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya line. Right. But they knew the science, and that's an important thing. If you know the science, you can understand, but if you don't know the science, you can't understand. It's like the fellow that went to India and said, I spent 3 months in India, I can guarantee there's no pure devotees in India. And then in the Bhagavatam, in his commentary, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada writes there's hundreds of thousands of places of pilgrimage in India. That's where the sadhus are. I doubt if he'd visited all those places in 3 months. And then he runs off with someone's wife and starts a garbage run, emptying people's garbage bins. I mean, that's okay. I mean, if you want to empty people's garbage bins, I'm cool. It's like an honest job, you know. But don't tell me there's no pure devotees, Pugglegi. You know, as soon as I heard it, I thought this person's off the planet. You know, how can that person be taken seriously? So we don't take these people seriously. Jai Shishi Radha Govinda Mahaprabhu. So there's no pure devotees. Well, I don't agree with that. But there are 3 people that are trained in these ancient sciences which are becoming marginalised due to the influx of the Western mentality in India. But anyway, those sciences are still there. And if you read the Radha Krishna Ganadesa Dipika by Srila Rupa Goswami, he talks about the Astasakis, and each of those Astasakis are trained in Vedic sciences. And Indulekha Saki is trained, her specialty is Samudrika, seeing the auspicious marks on the body of people. This is ancient, this is very ancient. So, we have the Acharya from Sri Rangam, we have the his secretary, and we have B.C. Mahanti, the deity maker. Then we have the uncle of Badri Narayan Ramanuja Das, Tirthananda Das, who's one of the more prominent astrologers in Orissa. And he did Gurudev's chart. And he said, Gour Govinda Swami, he's from Vaikuntha Loka, he's from Guru Loka. In the Sri Sampradaya, Guru Loka means Guru comes from Vaikuntha. He doesn't come from this world. As Jagadish Pandit said, real spiritual master can only come from that world, he can't come from this world. Right. So in the chart he says he comes from Vaikuntha Loka. He said it a few times, and he told everyone. Not a Gour Govinda Swami, powerful personality, he's come from Vaikuntha Loka. So, we consider, so there's someone else who's not in our Sampradaya. Right. There's someone else who's not in our Sampradaya. So this thing, no one will ever come again. We don't accept it. No offence. And A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada didn't accept it either, because he, in a conversation on the 24th of July 1974 in Melbourne Temple with his disciples, he says, must be disciplic succession, must be, it's not the work of one man, it's the work of many, and in that way, by succession, it becomes perfected. Must be, and that is the word, that is why there is such a thing as the Sat Sampradaya of the Gaudiyas, or the eternal Sampradaya of the Gaudiya line. Sampradaya Pranali, the flow or the stream of the Sampradaya. And if we don't understand this Sampradaya Pranali, and if we don't understand Sambandha, and if we don't understand Guru Tattva, you won't understand anything. And you can only really understand it if you hear from someone who's realised it. So, in the words of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, there are many stars in the sky, but we want the one moon. So we consider that one moon, that only moon, His Divine Grace, in the ISKCON branch of Mahaprabhu's mission. Don't forget, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said in his commentaries in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the verse, Bandeshu Krishna Chaitanya Prema Meritaro Priyan, and Vishva Saka Kari Eka Mandala, Mahama Saka Chayala Brahmanda Sakala. It talks about the clusters and the branches of the Chaitanya tree, and in both commentaries it says ISKCON is one branch. It's not the only branch, it's one branch. Right. So we consider that in that star and that environment of ISKCON, there may be so many stars in the sky, but the only one moon is Srila Gour Govinda Swami. Right? He's shining bright. And Gurudev said, Prabhupada wanted one moon. But Gurudev said, amongst my disciples, I want 5 moons. Very interesting. So we consider that he is the one moon. And A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada came to spread the path of bhakti amongst the Westerners. He preached all throughout the Western world. Right? But His Divine Grace Gour Govinda Swami came to make it very strong. Make that branch strong. That's the duty of the disciple, isn't it? Make the branch of the Guru strong. But if you're not that powerful, you can't do it. You'll create enmity, you'll fight, you'll ban people, you'll kick people out, you do all these things. It's called mundane politics. But a real sadhu, he doesn't get involved in that. He won't even criticise those people that criticise him. Gurudev's godbrothers were criticising him, and Gurudev wouldn't say anything about it. He wouldn't get involved. And I went in and spoke to Guru Maharaj, and I put up a case. I said, this sannyasi is criticising you. And I put up a whole case, and Gurudev said, it's with them, it's not with me. And what does Rupa Goswami say in the Upadeshamrita, verse 5? Anya nindadi sunyaridam. Pure devotee is free from the propensity to criticise others. So A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada came and he formed a branch of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya line called ISKCON. And His Divine Grace Srila Gour Govinda Swami came, and he came to make that branch strong. And that's how it cannot become strong by the bickering and arguing and all that of conditioned souls. Not possible. So I'll just read one thing here. There's a book called The Hare Krishna Movement, The Post-Charismatic Faith of a Religious Transplant. It's written by Edward F. Bryant, PhD, and Maria L. Extrant, PhD. And in it they say, Gour Govinda Maharaj was an elderly Indian disciple of Bhaktivedanta Swami and Vaishnava by birth, thus more senior, learned, more exemplary and more inspirational than the younger Westerners who comprise the majority of ISKCON's gurus. I think in those 2, 4, 6 lines, they've summed up the whole thing. So, we have to be very careful because I'll now present a few extra points, but we have to be very careful because, to my understanding, this is the first time an acharya has been forced out of a movement by the bickering and the arguing of conditioned souls. At the beginning of 1996, Gurudev went to Africa, and he went with Indrabhadra Das as his servant. And Gurudev was on TV. There's a whole segment, Gurudev on TV. And the interviewer was, of course, African. And he was dark. And Guru Maharaj was from India, and he was dark. But Guru Maharaj had a servant who was white. And all this interviewer could talk about was, you've got a white servant. Because, Africa is the land of slaves, right? That's where the whiteys went and did all their nonsense. And Gurudev said, not just one, I got many. And the guy went, many? The guy was shocked. That's all he could talk about. You've got white servants. What's going on? Gurudev said, not slaves, servants, disciples, okay? And anyway, after Africa, he went to Bombay. Then from Bombay, he went to Bhubaneswar. Then he went to Gaur-Govinda on the 30th of January, 1996. And he went there, and he paid Dandavats to Gopal, who is the famous deity of the famous family that Gurudev was born into, the Giri family, the Gaur-Giri Kirtanias of Orissa, most famous Kirtaniya family in Orissa. When they do kirtan, people do aarti to them. and pay dandavats to them. I mean, they're famous. Anyway, he paid dandavats to Gopal for 15 to 20 minutes. Usually he paid dandavats and up and 15 to 20 minutes. Then he gave class, and then he spoke the story of the wise old monkey. How the wise old monkey left, but all the family members wouldn't go with him. They stayed and they were destroyed. Then he went to Bhubaneswar and had Nityananda Triodasi, the appearance of Sri Nityananda Thakur, and then he went to Mayapur, never to be seen again, isn't it?
That's right.
In the interim, in between this coming back from Gadagiri and going to Mayapur, Tirthananda Das, the astrologer, something prompted him to do Gurudev's chart again. And he did the chart, and the chart had changed. Gour Govinda Swami is going to leave very soon. He contacted Sri Rangam. The Acharya from Sri Rangam sent Badri Narayan up to see Gurudev, and Badri Narayan went in to see Gurudev with two messages from the Acharya from Sri Rangam. Number one was, don't go to Mayapur, and number two is, don't leave your body. Because all these astrologers, they knew that Guru Maharaj would stay on the planet up to 90 years. Right? Because he's come with a mission. He's not a cowboy from the West. You know, Gurudev said, and I'll make this point, Prabhu here mentioned it, right? Gurudev said, the Vindhya Mountains divide India down the middle. And they're a little to the north and a little to the west, but basically the middle. And he said, from the north the avatars come, from the south the acharyas come. Even Sankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Madhavendra Puri, Ramanuja, all the acharyas. And then he said, mainly the acharya comes from Bengal or Orissa. And then he said Mahaprabhu had four very close associates, Sikhi Mahiti's sister Madhavi Devi, Sri Damodar Goswami, and Sri Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy. He said one from Bengal, three from Orissa. Therefore I rest my case. And then he said, I've never seen where an acharya has come from the west. Acharyas take birth in the south. Orissa is included in the south, so is Bengal. Anyway, so this Tirthananda Das, he did the chart of Gurudev. He saw he was leaving. Badri Narayan came in and said two things: don't leave your body, don't go to Mayapur. And the answer, and he just sent me an email with the answer. And he said, Gurudev said to him, so now someone from the Sri Samadhi in South India has to come and give the message 1,500 kilometres away, and Mayapur is only a couple of hundred kilometres away. Why isn't anyone coming from there? Because they don't care. Understand me? They don't care if he lives or dies. But they're worried because the Acharya from Sri Rangam, he knew he's a Mahabhagava. He's going to leave untimely. He should stay on the planet for 90 years. He's going to leave 24 years early. Mission cut short. This is a disaster. And Gurudev's answer to Badri was, my Gurudev, meaning A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and Mahaprabhu are very powerful. They can deal with the situation that is going on now. I personally cannot. And Badri left Guru Maharaj's room understanding he's going to leave. And he went to Mayapur and he left. And the way he left, at what point did he leave? He spoke the deepest Harikatha you can. Most of us don't even know that Harikatha. And at the point where there's eye-to-eye union for Radha, and Krishna said, please excuse me, I cannot speak anymore. He lay down on his bed and left this world. And I don't know anyone that's done that.
I think Srila Gour Govinda said no one has left their body, like no child.
Yeah, I'm getting to that, yeah. Sorry. And he said, I don't know anyone that's done that. But Gurudev, I have to say this, he said, voting on Siddhanta, as Prabhu here said, he said that is not on. And when he was asked, when does it become intolerable? He says, when the Siddhanta is baffled, because they are voting on the Siddhanta. He says, you can't do that. It's not a show of hands. Definitely not. So, as I've said previous, many outside of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness knew Guru Maharaj was a Mahabhagavan. But inside, they didn't know. Not many, few. How many came? What's his name? What's his name?
Shruti Maharaj.
Yeah, what's his name? What was his name? Ram Vijay, right?
Vijay.
Giant to crit.
Bhakti Rupa.
Yeah. No. Only a few came. Not many. And then there was Gurudev's disciples, which there was quite a few. But they didn't really seem to care. But Sri Rangam, they cared. They were worried. So personally, I can understand it's the first time an acharya has been driven out of his mission. He's come with a mission, he's been driven out. Very serious. He cut the mission short by 24 years. And the acharya from Sri Rangam knew, his secretary disciple Badri Narayan knew, Tirthananda Das knew, B.C. Mahanti knew, and there were many others. So, when someone comes to you and says, don't go to Mayapur and don't leave your body, that means you've got a plan to do that. And Gurudev was very much disgusted with what was going on. Because you cannot vote on Siddhanta. That is not our policy. Alright, Dandavats everyone, I'll stop there. Vanshikapatruvisha, Kripasanduvi Avichar, Patitanam, Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo, Namo Namaha.